Welcome to Conversations with LaDonna in association with F.I.R.E Media. And this is the Peachtree's Village International Film Festival Edition Part 3. And today my guest is Jock McKissic. Jock, welcome to the show, my friend.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm so glad to have you here to talk to you about your journey. And I know that you're a very busy man, so we're just going to get right into it today.
Absolutely.
Jock, you're an actor, a writer, director, and a producer. And you are part of the Cast Me If You Can, Secrets to a Successful Acting Career as part of the panel for the Peachtree Village International Film Festival this year. What can the attendees expect from this panel?
Well, it's a phenomenal panel. I'll just say that, like, even as a member of the panel, I enjoyed it, and I learned so much about each of the panelists. I think one of the things that you'll learn the most about each of those people in this industry is that, you got to be hardworking, you got to be open-minded, and you got to stay true to yourself. You're going to hear that a lot in that panel.
Yeah.
And you're also just going to learn a lot about each panelist and just their journey and just the hard work that they put in into their careers.
Yeah, that's good information. What is one thing that you recommend as an actor to be successful? Is there one little tip that you can provide?
If I had to say one thing, I would just say faith in God. Like if I had to narrow it down to one thing, because without that, everything else is, null and void. Like you gotta have faith in God, and you gotta believe that, your passion that He instilled in you is He's gotta hold true to, bringing you through and seeing you through to help you achieve and live this dream that He's instilled inside of you. So without that faith in Him, everything else is irrelevant.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that, because you can carry that in anything that you're doing in life, for sure.
Anything.
Yeah. It's very interesting. As I speak with guests, that's one of the things, that's the foundation for many of my guests that are successful in their life, is God is their foundation.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So this is the 15th year anniversary of the festival. Have you been involved with the Peachtree Village International Film Festival prior to this year?
Not from this side of things. I haven't been a part of it. I've attended in the past, when I was living in Atlanta, but never been a part of it. But I'm a huge fan. It's been around for 15 years for a reason. They're doing something right. So yeah, I'm definitely honored and blessed to be a part of it.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely good to be a part of this, and they've had some great screenings and workshops and attendees, and also guests on during the 15 years that they've had the festival. So it definitely is an honor for you to be a part of it and to be able to share your insights to those attendees as well.
Mm-hmm.
As an actor, you have been involved in many projects, such as the most recent role on Netflix, Queen of the South. But before we talk about that, I'm very happy about that for you. I saw a quote that you wrote that says, "Spend less time trying to predict the future and spend more time preparing for whatever it holds." I'm going to say that again for the attendees to hear. Spend less time trying to predict the future and spend more time preparing for whatever it holds. What does that quote mean to you?
To me, it means just use your time wisely. Number one, a lot of times people spend their time worrying about things that they can't change. And if you're worrying about things you can't change, you're wasting your time. Number one, you're telling God that you don't believe in Him. Because, you don't have faith in Him handling His job and His duty, what He promised us. Number two, you're wasting your time because you just can't change it. So the things that you can change and the things that you can work on and prepare for and create, etc., do those things. Yeah. So if you do everything you can do, if we're speaking acting wise, if you're preparing, you're studying, you're networking, you're doing everything you can do on your own, and that's in your control, then whatever the outcome is, you'll be able to adapt. So like if you prepare ahead of time, whatever the outcome is in life, you'll be prepared for it. you'll be able to adapt. So don't try to predict what's gonna happen. Just prepare for what's to come.
I like that. Sound like you're preaching a little bit there. I love that. That might be your second calling, my friend. I love that. This past Mother's Day, you said your mom was the perfect example of selflessness, philanthropy, and unconditional love. How has your life been shaped by the example that your mother has set?
Um, my mere foundation is a reflection of my mother, because I'm a person who believes in philanthropy, a person who believes in our sole purpose as humans is to give back to others. And I had a first row seat of that with my mom. My mom is extremely selfless. Outside of me and my older brother, Terrell, my mom, I got to say her name,
Yeah.
Cynthia Diane Smith. We call it,
Shout
we
out
call
to
it,
mom.
yeah, shout out to mom. You know, we call her supervisor because she's always trying to make sure everything is good for everybody. You know, she supervises everything. So I had a chance to grow up and see my mom sacrifice her dreams. You know, she had my brother when she was she was pregnant with my brother when she was 19. She had him at 20.
Mm,
Sacrificed her dreams to be a nurse, and then later on she wanted to be a flight attendant. But I came along, and you know, she had to sacrifice those things, and I saw her work hard, um, work two, most sometimes three jobs. You know, and whatever she had to do to make the load for us light, she did.
yeah.
And not just us, everybody in the community, my friends, my family members. She's always doing something for somebody, and she never asked for anything in return. And so those things, getting a chance to see it firsthand, and then by her teaching me and telling me these things and instilling these things in me, they basically shaped my foundation to who I am today. So I'm forever in debt to her, you know, for always telling me I could do whatever I wanted to do. Just keep faith in God, you know. So yeah, like she's a perfect example of somebody who's selfless, hardworking, philanthropist. Like she does it, she lives it every single day. She doesn't even she did most of the time she's not even aware of it. She just does it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and those are the type of people you want, you know, in your circle. You know, the people who do it because that's just who they are and they want to do it instead of doing it for something in return. So I got a chance to see that for my whole life, you know, from my mom. So yeah,
And
shout
what
out to her.
shout out, and what's mom's name again?
Diane Smith.
All right, Miss Diane Smith, thank you for making such a great example for your boys and the community, like an unsung hero. You know, sometimes we have to make sure we take that moment and honor them. So I'm glad that she was such a great example for you.
Absolutely.
Before acting, you played football. So talk to us about the role of coach. Is his last name Sweeney?
Sweeney, yeah.
Sweeney had in your life.
Wow. Coach Sweeney had a well, he still does have a very intricate part of my life, because he came to my high school and recruited me. I was
Mm,
being recruited by 26 other schools,
wow.
and then I had some grade issues with my ACT scores, etc. And a lot of schools bailed, but Coach
Mm,
Sweeney didn't. You know, he stuck with me. He said, whatever we have to do to get you qualified to be in, you know, college next semester, we'll do it. You know, so he was always there mentoring me, coaching me through the whole situation, on making a decision whether I would go to like prep school or junior college or stay home, and just train and take the ACT again, which I ended up doing, and I ended up qualifying and going to college the spring semester my freshman year. And he was just an example. You know, he was somebody who grew up in Alabama. You know, people see him now as this successful head coach who makes, you know, whatever amounts to $1 million a year. And that's all they see, but they don't know the backstory. You know, you see the win, but you don't see the grind.
right.
So he grew up in, you know, Birmingham, Alabama. Um, his dad was an alcoholic. He struggled with alcoholism. You know, abusive, stuff towards his mom, and they struggled financially. And when he went to college, he ended up moving his mom in to live with him in his dorm.
Mm.
So and he played football in college, and he also had a job in college. So just to imagine somebody doing all this stuff just to make it is you have to respect it. And he still carries those things and those morals with him today, and he's hardworking, and he wants to see all of his players become better men, not just football players. So playing under him, being recruited by him, and to this day, if I needed him for something, I could call him and he would do it. Just all of those things added together just speaks volumes to his character.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
And, coaches take on, just like teachers, they take on their children or those that they coach or teach as their
Hmm.
own. And it's
Hmm.
wonderful that he was able to do that with you. And then given his backstory, he comes from such a great place in his heart to be a giver of others and to be caring. And the fact that he took in his mom in his college dorm is just,
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like,
yeah. And it's like, it's no excuse in life. You
hmm.
have a situation, you figure it out, and you grind and you just move forward. So I love that story.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So let's talk acting.
Hmm.
What was your first acting job?
Job, like paid job, or just gig ever?
Gig ever?
Second grade play,
Oh,
Black History play.
okay.
I was Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh,
And
that.
all of the kids, we had all the kind of Bo Jackson, all these Malcolm, all these Black History, you know, icons, and each of the kids were somebody. And most of the kids said, 2 or 3 sentences about who they were, 1 or 2 things about what they did, and if they were still alive or if they were dead, whatever the case may be. So when I was assigned to play Dr. Martin Luther King, you know, I knew of him. I knew the things he'd done. I knew his importance in our community. So I went home and told my mom, like, hey, Mom, I want to do the whole speech.
Oh, wow.
So she was like, okay. So she took me, she probably don't even remember this, but she took me to the library. We printed out like the I Have a Dream speech. And every day when I would get home from school, she would get home from work, we would just, while she was cooking, I would just go over it. She would just sit down, listen, make me go through it, read over it until I learned it. And
Wow.
when I did the play, everybody did they 2 or 3 lines. I got
Yeah.
up there and did the I Have a Dream speech.
Wow.
So yeah, that was my first acting gig.
I love it. I love it. And so your mom was like surprised. Did she know that this was something that of interest to you, or did you even know? It's like when you had this speech and when you chose to do that, is that when you said, okay, this is something that I like?
So I knew at 6. I knew at 6 I wanted to be an actor. I told my grandparents, my great grandmother and my grandmother, and they were just kind of like, okay, yeah, whatever. I don't think I told my mom like, hey, Mom, I want to be an actor, but she knew I would do like the church plays, and then when I did that and I brought that to her, she didn't say like, oh, you want to be an actor? She didn't say that. She was like, oh, okay, he's competitive. He likes to entertain. That's what he does.
Right,
And so when I did it, she wasn't surprised because she helped me study and prepare.
right.
But yeah, I never really expressed to anybody else after my great grandmother and my grandmother that I wanted to act. I just
Mm.
always did it, and they just assumed I was doing it for a hobby.
Wow. And look at you now.
Yeah.
You now. Wow. So do you remember your first paid acting gig?
Yeah. TLC movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the TLC movie. Yeah, that was my first like paid actor as a principal. I did feature extra work for a couple years. I started Necessary Roughness. It was a TV show on USA. So
Remember
that
that.
was really my beginning, I would say, like of being around the set, being around the actors, learning the terms, building friends. A lot of the guys that I worked with on that show, I'm still close friends with today.
Nice.
And I got paid for that. So I would say that. But as far as like a principal role, the TLC film.
Nice, nice. So you're doing all these different things. When did you know that you wanted to pursue this as a career?
I see when I decided at 6 I wanted to do it, my goal then was like, oh, I'm gonna go to the NBA and I'm gonna make movies. I'm gonna be an actor too. And
Right.
then once I got to high school, I started telling myself, oh, I'm going to the NFL. And then when I get out of NFL after 5 years, I'm gonna retire and I'm gonna start a production company. I'm gonna make my own movies.
Wow.
And then once the NFL didn't work out, I played arena ball. And then after 2 years at arena ball, I got a chance with the New York Giants. They didn't sign me. And then I moved to Atlanta. I was like, it's time to go full speed ahead with this acting. So it was never like, oh, let me see, let me tiptoe. It was always like, this is
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do. So I think I always knew it would be a career. I
Yeah.
just didn't know what route. God had other plans for what route I would take.
Absolutely. Was working so far. So far, so good. I love it. I love it. So I met you in Atlanta taking classes at the Booking Room. Shout out to the Booking Room fam.
Yeah, shout out to the booking room.
Yes. So tell us why it's important to take acting classes. Why do you think it's important?
I think it's extremely important. Number one, because a lot of times people, they feel like they can act, or they're an actor, and they just start saying it, and they just assume that when the cameras come on or the lights come on that they'll be good at it. And then when they get in front of people, it's like a deer in front of headlights. Like,
Right.
you don't really know how you react. You don't really know like how you respond until you're in front of people. And I think acting class, number one, is the best place to do that, because you're amongst peers who are also trying to get better and sharpen their tools as well. But it's still live people staring at you. So
Right.
if you have nerves, you'll learn to work through those things. And then two, you're sharpening your craft. Like, there's some things you may be able to do naturally, and
Mm-hmm.
other things you may have to work at. Like improv. Like, a lot of people think they can improv, but once they get into an improvisation situation, they find out that they can't.
Right.
And those are things that you learn from going to class. And depending on your instructor will learn your tendencies and learn your abilities, and then they'll help you expand upon those different skills that you have, and help you be a more complete artist.
Yeah, I
So
like.
yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of taking class.
All right, for all the viewers and attendees out there that are aspiring actors, remember to go ahead and find a class in your area. And you can also audit classes and check them out and find out what's the best fit for you. You now reside in California, and
Hmm.
a lot of actors, especially those from Atlanta or wherever else they're from, always trying to determine when's the best time to go to California. When did you know that was the best time for you to go ahead and make that move to California?
So for me, my my thing is, you have to plan. You know, so if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail.
Yeah.
So my plan was always to start in Atlanta, um, build my resume, get some experience, study, build a network, and then once I get to a certain place, move to LA. I didn't know when that would be. I didn't know. I didn't want to like overcompensate and say, oh, I'll do it in 3 years, when you might not be ready in 3 years, or whatever
Right.
the case may be. But it was always a part of the plan. For me, I personally feel like the industry is changing, and some people may not want to move to LA, or some people may not, want to leave New York. Some people may not want to leave Chicago. And where the industry is now, um, during COVID and probably post COVID for a while, a lot of auditions are self-tape, so you can
Yeah.
kind of live wherever. You just got to be willing to travel to work.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a necessity to move to LA for everybody. For me, I wanted to move to LA because, that's where the decision makers are.
Right.
My whole life I would see like, oh, Hollywood is Hollywood. And I would see like the execs in Hollywood. And the execs aren't moving because they don't have to.
Right.
Like other things are done in other cities, outside of Atlanta. Outside of Tyler Perry, there's not really many execs in Atlanta. So I wanted to go where the decision makers were and get in front of them and those casting directors in those cities, LA, New York. So that's why I decided to move to LA, because I would notice when I would book smaller roles in Atlanta, a lot of the supporting leads would come from LA
Right.
or they would come from New York. So I wanted to be in that pot. And I knew that in LA and New York, a lot of the auditions are in person. So you got to be there.
Yeah.
So it was always a part of the plan. And for me, when I knew, I woke up one day, it was like December of 17. I woke up one day and I said,
Oh, that's
I'm
my
moving to LA.
birthday. On my
December?
birthday, December 17th, you made that decision.
Yeah. So I
It
was like,
in spirit.
yeah. So I was like, yeah, it's time to go to LA. And I just felt
Wow.
like I had enough credits, I had enough experience, and I knew that I could go to LA and survive. So I just woke up, decided, I went and met with my agent, Joy Purvis. I met with my manager, Gail Tassel, and they were like, okay, we support you. So I told my mom, my grandma, my family, hey, I'm moving to LA at like Christmas dinner or something. They were like, okay, well, we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And I moved to LA February of 18, so I moved like 2 months later. So
Nice.
it was quick. And like once I make a decision, I act on it. I don't really like sit around and like try to wait for the perfect time or figure out when. No, just do it.
Right. That's awesome. It's good you have family support too.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it makes it a little tougher, when they in the beginning, because they don't really know what to expect or they haven't seen it. So in the beginning, for me, a lot of them were like, oh, you should probably get a job. You got a degree from Clemson. And I was like, nah, I'm a good actor. But, when they start to see results, it's a little easier to get behind and support, So now I don't really have an issue with people supporting because they know now. They see it.
Yeah. Awesome. So what was your degree?
I double majored in communications and sociology.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Which is beneficial for what you're doing now because you have to communicate with everyone and you can use your psychology for acting.
100%. I initially wanted to major in theater, but a lot of the theater stuff happens in the PM, and that conflicts with football practice. So they were like, we don't think you can do that. I was like, all right, well, whatever. So I ended up going communications just because at the time I just like to talk. And, at the time I had an extremely heavy Alabama accent.
Oh,
And
wow.
my first communication teacher, she like failed me for like my speech. And then I was like, why did you fail me? And she explained like, where your accent is super heavy. You have to learn to speak with, better dialect, et cetera, et cetera. So I ended up getting a speech pathologist to work with me.
Wow.
So like majoring in communications was like a blessing in disguise because
Yeah.
it helped me with my acting career. Because, we get auditions and a lot of times it'll say no Southern accents
Right.
in bold letters. And in college, I couldn't give you anything else my freshman year. That was all you're gonna get. So yeah, I learned to turn it on and off. I learned to alter my dialect and use other accents, etc. So yeah, majoring in communications was definitely a blessing in disguise.
I love it. I was born in Chicago, but I was raised on a farm in Mississippi and went to school in Tennessee. So my y'alls come out every now and then, my little Southern stuff.
Hey y'all.
Hey y'all. Hey y'all. So you moved to California. How has that affected your career?
It's grew my career definitely, in every aspect, not just booking wise, but network wise. Like I've been able to get around people who I've dreamed of being around just because I was in LA and I was in the right place at the right time, or mutual friends connected us. I've got in front of some cast directors who cast a lot of the bigger stuff in LA. And I've been working since I got there. My first week in LA, I booked a movie called Tag.
Congratulations.
And yeah, so I had to fly right back to Atlanta because it was filmed in Atlanta. But
Wow.
this time I was getting paid to go to Atlanta.
Right.
So it was kind of like confirmation, You know, sometimes you just got to jump and build your wings on the way down. So that's kind of what I did.
Say that again. Jump and build your wings on the way down.
Yeah.
I like
You
that.
just got to jump off the cliff. God help you build on wings. So, yeah, LA's been great. I booked the 3 guest star recurring roles since I've been in LA.
Nice.
And I booked my first supporting role in a film with Allison Janney, Mila Kunis, Regina Hall. It's called Breaking News in Yuba County.
Nice.
And so, yeah, LA's been great. I've been blessed.
I'm
Thank
so
God.
happy for you. So
Thank you. I
very
appreciate it.
happy. Yeah. Um, so for actors who are in the industry and may be new, talk to us about the difference in having an agent versus a manager, or having both. Because at what time do you get a manager? I know that you have both a nice agency and a nice manager. Both of those, Jay Purvis and your agent, your manager, are wonderful. Talk to us about what's the difference between having the agent and the manager.
So there's a lot of mixed reviews on what you should and shouldn't do. I don't think it's a right way to do it
Yeah.
or a better way. I think it's what's best for you. For me, I signed with Gail Tassel in 2012, and I had no credits, so she just took a shot on me.
That's
And
nice. Gail was
yeah, she took a chance. She was like, "I see something in your kid. Let's do it."
yeah.
So um, I had a manager first. That it usually doesn't happen that way. People usually get an agent first, and because of the financial reasons, like you have to pay your agent 10% and then your manager 15%. So financially, in the beginning, when you book a role that's like a one-liner, you know, you're only getting paid $933 or whatever it may be in Atlanta, and then after taxes, and then you got to turn around and pay your agent 10% and your manager 15%. It's going to hurt you financially if you have both in the beginning. So a lot of people argue against it, like, oh, you don't need both right now. Me personally, I had my manager first, and then we added Jay Purvis to the team in 2015 because we just needed a bigger team to get us more stuff. And for me, I like having 2 people because an agent just focuses on your roles.
Right.
Like, okay, here's an audition for that. You book it, cool. We'll negotiate your deal. Your manager focuses on everything. So your
Right.
roles, your travel, how they're treating you on set. Do you like your hotel?
Mm-hmm.
Your PR, like your different events, because they're more focused on your career as a whole. Like
Right.
they want to see everything come together, you know, as far as your agent is just acting.
Right.
So yeah, I think having both is beneficial, but I don't think it's a necessity
Right.
to, you know, be successful in the industry by far. I think it's whatever each person feels, you know, applicable for them. I think a lot of times people try to do what other people do because they said it was cool.
Right.
Like, don't do what Jock said because you might not like it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just take what I said, the advice, and see how you feel about it.
Absolutely.
So that's why I think having 2 is beneficial.
Absolutely. It does differ from every person. So you just have to
Mm-hmm.
decide what works best for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's talk Queen of the South. Tell us about that audition process.
Man, so I've been watching Queen of the South since the first episode 101. I've been a fan ever since. So initially, the show started in Mexico, then it was in like Dallas, but it was mostly majority Mexicans. So I was like, okay, this is a phenomenal show, but I'll probably never be on it.
Wow.
But in season 4, one of my friends came over, Cranston Johnson, and he had an audition for it. And I was like, you auditioned for Queen of the South? He was like, yeah, it's filming in New Orleans. I was like, what? He's like, yeah. So I called Gail. I was like, look, anything that come across your table for Queen of the South, send it to me. If it's a mail, I don't care what it say. Submit me, please submit me for it.
Yeah.
So I got one audition, did it, didn't end up getting it. Then I got a second one for the role of Shamari James, the one that I booked. And I did it, and I was like, I'm booking that. The girl was like, yeah, it was a great audition. I was like, I'm booking it. So I ended up booking it. And initially it was supposed to be just one scene. And when I got to set, I did that one scene, and the director and the producers and the writer was like, y'all chemistry too good. I did the scene with Alemi Ballard, and my character was coming down to help his character with something. They was like, we got to figure out a way to keep your character in it. So I end up being recurring. They brought me back for 3 episodes, and yeah, it's one of my favorite characters to date.
Wow, that's so exciting. I mean, and that's part of being an actor. You have to manage yourself, and you're your business, because you wanted to be on the show. So you took the initiative, reached out to your manager, and said, "This is what I want to do." And then you get auditions. Don't get the first one, right? But you get something else because you keep moving. You don't let that no stop you from what you know you want to do. And then after you do the audition, you're like, I'm booking that. And my best friend told me one time, she said, you're going to know after the audition if it's going to be yours or not. And then here you are saying the same thing. You just knew that was going to be.
Sometimes you know. Sometimes, now sometimes you think you know. I mean, you don't know. But
you don't know.
That time I just felt it. I just felt like God was like, hey, go pack your stuff. You're ready to go to New Orleans.
I love it.
Yeah, you got to take initiative. You got to take risks. No matter what people will say, you gotta care about your dream and your passion so much that you're willing to, break the norm, the rules and the laws of normality.
Absolutely.
Like for instance, like when I moved to LA, you're not supposed to solicit agents. I was pulling up at all the agencies, like going to security. They were like, well, some of them were like, we can't let you in, sir. Some of them would let me in. I would go in, handle my resume, my headshot. I sent like 200 emails out, and I eventually got an agent. So the rules of normality don't work for me because I'm just too persistent.
Yeah.
Another quick story like that is I found out they were filming Equalizer 2 in Boston, and I Googled all the Boston casting directors. It was only like 3 of them, I think. I emailed all of them, hey, my name is Jock McKissic, sort of my reel, my headshot, resume, all that good stuff. And, told them, hey, if you have anything that would be good for me, let me know. One of them responded, and they were like, yeah, we have a role that would be good for you.
Love it.
It's a role of Jolly, etc. Here, can you have it in tomorrow? Ooh. They sent me the audition. I looked at it. It was about 3 lines. It was a scene with Denzel.
Oh, wow.
And of course, I have a setup in my house. So me and Patrick, my roommate, my little brother, Patrick Walker.
Shout out.
Patrick. Yeah, shout out to Pat. Me and him taped it like 10 minutes. I sent it back to casting. She wrote me back. She was like, hey, I love this. Like, can you be a local hire? And I was like, yeah. So me and her went back for a couple of days. I looped in Jay Purvis, and they ended up omitting the scene. So I booked the role. They ended up cutting the scene. So I ended up not ever going.
Wow.
But you still have to have that type of persistence because I still got it, It just wasn't God's timing. Like God, it wasn't my time to work with Denzel yet.
Right.
But it's just those type of nuggets that just let me know. It's just a God wink every time. Like God just say, yeah, just keep doing what you do. So yeah, you just gotta go hard. You gotta go hard for what you believe in and what you love.
Absolutely. Go hard for what you believe in, for what you love. And do you feel that some of the things that you learned in football and sports helps you with your acting? Like
100%.
Yeah.
First of all, it makes me take myself a lot less serious when it comes to acting, having played football, because I don't allow myself to get stressed out about stuff because I'm like, it is what it is. Like the worst they can do is tell me no. You know what I'm saying? And ain't nobody lined up across me, getting ready to hit me in my mouth, trying to kill me.
Right.
Every single play.
Right.
It's just a different type of, it's a mental game.
Yeah.
So it's like if I can control my mental, then I can control my destiny. So everything I learned, my hard work, my camaraderie, my levels of like different camaraderies and networking and all this stuff. I work well with teams. I work well with other actors, like all that stuff. Yeah, I learned in football, but
Yeah.
just the hardship of sports in general allowed me to come into acting and just kind of smooth through mentally in areas where a lot of people would have been like panicking,
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be fine, you
Yeah.
know?
So the more I talk to you, is the foundation that you received from your mom, uh, your belief in God, your coach and sports, and your major in communications and psychology has built who you are now, which is
Mm-hmm.
success, which is part of the success that you're having, part of the reason you're having the success that you're having, because of all of those different things. And I think a lot of times when people want to be actors, they don't think about that. They just think, I just want to act. And
Mm-hmm.
acting embodies so much of who you are. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a testament as to why you're so successful the way you are so far.
Yeah, I would say the mistake that I feel a lot of people make is acting becomes their identity,
Right.
and they lose sight of who they are or who they were before acting.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to hold on to the most, because that's what's going to make your performances authentic. That's what's going to make you, let go of the audition that you bombed. That's what's going to let you move on to the next role, like who you are. Like acting is just my passion. That's just what God instilled in me to love and to put into the earth, because I have a gift that is not who I am.
Right.
I'm Jock McKissic first. Like all of those things that you said. Like I'm Diane's sons first. I'm a
Yeah.
child of God first. I'm a philanthropist first. I'm a motivational speaker first. I'm an athlete first. I'm a business owner first. Like all of these things. They make me who I am, and they make me the actor that I am. So you can't let acting be your only identity, because then you'll find yourself panicking and you'll find yourself depressed when it's not going right. If you
Absolutely.
put all your bags into that one thing that you just think has to go right, that's when you're miserable when it goes wrong.
Absolutely. That's some good stuff right there. Let's go back to Queen of the South. Can you tell us a little bit more about your character, and then if the character returned this season?
Yeah. So Shamari is I'm sure most people know. So who don't know about the show? It's about a Mexican lady who takes over the drug cartel. Then she branches off and creates her own cartel.
Yeah.
So she moves to New Orleans because she's always on the run, as most people who deal highly with drugs are. So she
Right.
moves to New Orleans, and she's she runs into like the head guy in New Orleans, which is Marcel Dumas. And he's a black brother from New Orleans, and he doesn't take lightly to her trying to take over his turf. So those two bicker and they go back and forth. They have a couple wars, and he realizes he doesn't have enough manpower. So he calls one of his good friends from Atlanta to bring some of his people, because he know his boy in Atlanta has an army.
Right.
So his boy in Atlanta is me, Shamari James. So I come down. He's not expecting me to come. He's just expecting me to send like a bunch of my goons. So I come down. I pull up in 3 Suburbans.
I
Hop
saw that
out.
scene, by the way. I was like, yes. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I hop out, like 15
The Atlanta
goons.
boys.
Yeah, exactly. The Atlanta boys. And he basically tell us what he need us to do. Of course, we fall short. My character ends up going to jail. Then like I said, they loved the character, so they brought me back. And Marcel Dumas brings me in when he partners with Teresita. He brings me in to be a partner. And then she ends up sponsoring me and like providing Shamari with cocaine in Atlanta, Georgia. And yeah, that's pretty much where it ended in that season. It's still up in the air, because I know you're going to ask. It's still up in the air where his character is going, or if his character come back, we don't know.
Okay.
Initially, when they reached out, I had conflicting dates for like 2 months for Your Honor, but since COVID took over, like we don't know what's gonna happen. So
Yeah.
hopefully Shamar can get back.
Well, hopefully we're gonna stay tuned, everybody, to see if Shamar
Yeah.
comes back and the Atlanta boys doing their thing. I love it. I love it. All right, let's see what time.
Yeah.
Okay, I know you have something else coming up shortly, so we're gonna try to wrap it up a little bit. Can you tell us about your short film Contractors?
Oh man, I just seen the final edit yesterday. So Contractors is a short film that my little brother Patrick Walker wrote during COVID. Like we were all being, using our time constructively and writing scripts and just creating during COVID, during the quarantine. And he wrote this short film about just something that we hadn't seen really. And we sat down and we brainstormed about different things that we can do, different scenarios, and we came up with these two black bounty hunters, basically young black bounty hunters from Texas, and they're real good at what they do. Therefore, the powers that be hate them because they don't want them to be good, and they're taking a lot of hits, etc. And that's all I can really tell you without telling you, what happens. But they're extremely smart. You don't think they're smart. My character is extremely Southern. You'll hear like a heavy Southern Texas accent, and you think you can get over on them. You think they're dumb, and then you find out that they had the game figured out way before you.
Love it.
So yeah,
so
we wrote it. Yeah. So he wrote it with the intentions on expounding upon it and making it a feature film. So he's working on that now, and when we release the short film, I think a lot of people are gonna like it. I think it's gonna get a lot of attention.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. Was it set in the desert or something?
Yeah, we shot it in the desert, in the middle of Palmdale, California, like in the middle of the desert with an RV. Lizards run around the whole nine.
All right. So, what has been the most fun or interesting project that you've worked on so far?
I think I take pride in each one because it's the next one. They're all equally a blessing.
Amen.
I find the projects that me and my peers do bring probably the most joy personally because of
you created
just the idea of you and your peers creating something and bringing it to life. So like Contractors, that's something that we did, and we put our own money into it, and that's always a powerful thing when you're willing to put skin in the game on your own. The Quad was another one.
Oh yeah.
That I booked on BT, and I was able to get two of my friends, Miles Stroder and Sergio Joaquin, a roll on, and then working with Patrick on that as well, Terrell Hill, just all these people that I consider my peers, my friends, my brothers, and I'm working with them. So yeah, those projects are always fun just because you get to see not only your dreams come to life, but people that you started with dreams come to life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
Acting wise, what's next is Your Honor, the show I'm working on now with Bryan Cranston. It comes out on Showtime in December. I don't know the exact date yet, but it comes out in December.
Awesome.
A film with Melissa McCarthy that's going to come out on HBO Max soon.
Wow.
A film I did with Allison Janney, Mila Kunis, and Regina Hall called Breaking News in Yuba County. MGM just bought that last week, so I don't know exactly when it'll be released, but it'll be huge. And yeah, that's what's coming next for acting. And then outside of acting, just still grinding with EYG, which is a company that I'm third of the owner with Jeremy Gray and my other business partner, Jonathan James. and it started as a motivational company where we had clothing, and Jeremy was teaching yoga, personal training. I do motivational speaking. Jonathan does music, and we kind of all put it together and just became like a lifestyle.
Nice.
And now I'm on the board of this nonprofit called the Curtis House that Jeremy also started in Opelika, Alabama. And it's basically a house in the community in Opelika. And his grandfather left the house to him and his other cousins, and he decided to take it, rebuild it, and just make it a house in the community for the kids. And so there's crops there that he plants and they grow for the kids. They have different events. They just had an event there yesterday where they brought a helicopter. They let the kids see a helicopter. They had like games for the kids. We have giveaways. We have shoe giveaways, bike giveaways, stuff during Christmas. Just really uplifting the community. So yeah, definitely busy with that, and it's only growing. So definitely excited about Eleventure Grind and the Curtis House.
I wish you guys most success with that. It sounds like you guys are doing great, and it's always important to give back, and you're going back to your community. A young man from Alabama all the way to LA, but not forgetting
Yeah.
in Alabama. I love it. And I know
Oh
your
man, you
mom's
can't forget.
proud, your grandmama's proud. I know everyone's proud of you.
Absolutely.
So do you have any last words regarding acting or voting or anything else that you'd like to share?
Voting?
Yes.
Oh man, voting is crucial. So I'll be in New Orleans filming during the election. So I went home for like 4 days so I could get my ballot and vote early.
Yes.
So
Voted yesterday. So vote early, people.
yeah, like they say, vote like your life depended on it, because it does.
Yes.
And if you're like, oh, well, my life will be the same, then maybe your kid, your daughter, or your nieces, your nephews, or your son, their life will be affected by this election. So
Yeah.
definitely get out and vote. Use your voice. I always view things like how proud am I making my ancestors by every choice that I make, whether it was my great grandfather who was the pillar of my family, who was a sharecropper, who bought a bunch of land, went through all this stuff with segregation, et cetera, racism. Am I making him proud by saying my vote doesn't count and not going to the polls when him wanting to vote and couldn't vote?
Okay.
Am I making my grandmother proud, who, had to drop out of school in the 8th grade because she had to go farm and work on the crops to help take care of her family. And then when the industrial age came in, they were told that they couldn't sell their crops. And then she had to get a job in a factory, So all of these sacrifices that my family have made, am I making these people proud by not voting? Something that they fought long and hard for. So always use your voice, because your voice matters. If your voice didn't matter, they wouldn't work so hard to try to silence you.
Exactly. I totally agree. I love all of that you just said. It's not just about us in our current time. It's about those who came before us. And I love how you personalize it within your own family. That's wonderful.
100%. That's what you got to do. I feel like everybody, if you personalize it and you view it that way, then you'll make some decisions that you probably didn't think you would make.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Don't forget to register for the 15th anniversary of the Peachtree Village International Film Festival to take advantage of the workshops, the panels, and the screenings. The film festival starts October 29th through November 1st. And in conclusion, remember, every day is not perfect, but every day is a blessing. And try to find the joyful moments and appreciate them. Thank you, Jock. I appreciate you so much. I've learned so much about you today, and I appreciate you taking time out and visiting with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I love you, and I'll talk to y'all later.
All right. Bye.